What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a big shout out to Ija Morris for the $10 donation via the PayPal. It leaves a note saying, "Stay on their neck, Too Raw. You got other YouTubers making videos trying to debunk your logic. You're not doing nothing right in life unless you got some haters. Respect, strength, keep it 100." Much respect to you for showing love to the channel once again. And hope you have a good day, man. And thank you for showing love. Yeah, that's out there. It's out there. I tried to look for it, but I know there's people out there that, make videos, respond to me, and calling me out my name. And I saw one particular video someone sent to me, but I tell them, like, don't, I don't want to see that stuff, man, because all it does is distract you. It'll distract us from doing what we're trying to do, which is talk basketball. There's people out there that, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's not about debating basketball. It's about clout chasing and trying to sneak this off of other people and trying to make a name for yourself. So I'm just going to screw with this dude to get views and whatever, man. It's just stupid. I had to tell someone something yesterday. Now, this is just my opinion, but you guys can tell me whether you agree with me or not. So I did a video on Too Raw for Sports, and I talked about how Karl Malone, who won an MVP award back in 1999 as well as 1997, but I focused on the 1999 season. And I said, if you look at his numbers that year, they don't seem that impressive compared to today. But that's the flaw when you compare a player who played in a different era where the rules are totally different compared to today. Now, I adjusted his numbers for pace. And his numbers shot through the roof, especially offensively. I didn't even take into account that his efficiency would go up. So someone messaged me from an account that I've never seen before, probably one of these haters. He said, your logic doesn't make sense. He said, Karl Malone at age 35 would not be able to play in this era due to the pace, and his efficiency would go down because he would shoot more threes and da 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 da. And this is the thing. Karl Malone is pretty much regarded, right? If you actually watched him play and remember him, he was known for having one of the most intense workout regimens in the history of the NBA. Maybe not quite where Wilt Chamberlain was. Maybe not quite where Kobe was, but right there. Okay? I mean, the guy had 5% body fat. I mean, do we remember Karl Malone? The same dude who early in his career could run up and down the court with no problem. Played with John Stockton. Somehow, Karl Malone, who was the MVP of the 1999 season, a season where at age 35 he averaged over 37 minutes per contest, played 49 out of 50 games, and probably the most physically grueling season in the history of the NBA, where they played 50 games between the month of February and April. Sometimes they played 4 games in 5 nights, numerous back-to-backs, which, by the way, they complain about like a bitch today and have load management. But somehow, some way, Karl Malone, who averaged over 40 minutes twice in his career, is going to have problems with stamina when they don't even play defense in today's NBA. That makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I want to move on. Anthony Davis, of course, when he is healthy and when Anthony Davis is motivated, he can be one of the best players this game has ever seen. That cannot be disputed. But the problem with Anthony Davis is, at least over the past 2 seasons, more often than not, he has not been playing up to his potential, and he has also been unavailable. It's like the last few years, going back to his last 2 years, maybe with the Pelicans, it's a given that Anthony Davis is going to miss about 30 games a year, 25 to 30 games a year, sometimes more, right? And part of what makes you a great player, I'm sorry, part of it is being available. Because that's one of the things that hurt Bill Walton. Now, Bill Walton's in the Hall of Fame more or less because of his collegiate career. Not necessarily his NBA career, though it helps that he has a league MVP and won 2 championships. But the man only scored 6,000 points in his career because he just couldn't be available. And that's what hurt Kawhi Leonard, in my opinion. You know, Kawhi Leonard, and by the way, the Clippers, that was an abominable performance tonight by the Clippers. I mean, just dreadful. But anyway, look, Jeff Van Gundy says that he's not sure. I'll put a link to this article in the pinned comment in the comment section about him being a Hall of Famer. He was asked, are you sure right now if he ended today, he'd be a Hall of Famer? I'm not sure because of the injuries. He's just been unavailable so often, I think it's hard to say that. Now, the article tends to side with Davis, saying, you know, there are worse players in the Hall of Fame than Davis. Yeah, you could argue there are some players who weren't as dominant, but they were probably available for their teams. You know, they weren't guys who, when you come into the season, you have to question whether they're going to be there at the end of the year. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's part of being a Hall of Famer. Availability. It is. It's part of it. Now, would I put him in the top 75 list? Man, I'm going to tell you something. The only thing that's kind of helping him out is that championship. It's helping him out because if it wasn't for that championship, I don't know how I would be able to, in my mind, put him ahead of guys like Alex English and Adrian Dantley, who for the most part had great durability and longevity and availability for their teams. You know, if things had ended a little bit differently for Adrian Dantley, he might be top 50. You know what I'm saying? If he was able to stay in Detroit and they had a similar outcome, hell, now all of a sudden he's a 2-time champion with the Detroit Pistons. Some of his best games with Detroit. But anyway, I don't know, man. I just, Anthony Davis this year proved to me that he still has a lot left in the tank and he still could be a top 1-2 player in the league. But it also proves to me that the last couple of years, he hasn't been giving us 100%, because a lot of us were under the impression that he may have been declining as a player. But that's not the case. He wasn't giving us 100%. This is also a guy who admitted from the last game of the season last year until training camp, I think, that he didn't even touch a basketball. This is a guy that had been criticized for less than stellar play by his standards. So, yeah, the talent is there with AD. The problem is his availability, and you have to sometimes question his drive, his motor. That's the thing that is separating him from the Giannis's. Even to an extent the Joel Embiid's, even though I think Joel Embiid is way too focused on stats and individual accolades. But anyway, that's just my take on this. Tell me what you guys think.